everybody. Hello, Claudia. Thank you for being here this evening. You can see Claudia Farrell here at the Vermilion County Extension Office, and Claudia has done a lot of coursework at the local college on floral arrangements and has a very creative, innovative way of using everything and anything that's at your disposal, which I find to be interesting and funny, and love the way she puts these programs together. So we are going to start on time here. So Claudia Farrell, if you would like to get started, we will do questions at the very end of the program. So close to 7 o'clock, we'll be taking questions, and the program will have 2 sections. Claudia is going to first do the floral arrangement presentation, and that will take about a half an hour. And then the second part will be using a PowerPoint where she's going to talk about different plants that work well in a cutting garden, a lot that she grows herself, and different plants that are simple that you might want to think about adding to your garden so that you can do these kind of floral arrangements. Really, the way you explained it, Claudia, was as, you know, a very simple, if you have the materials, you can put something together even kind of last minute if you need to, or you can plan it way in advance and pick up a lot of supplies and flowers and things. So I am going to go ahead and let Claudia get started here. Welcome, Claudia, and thank you for doing this.
You're very, very welcome. I apologize to those of you who are missing Wednesday night program or whatever this hour, but life's that way. Okie doke. So in your instructions, you were told to prepare your foam and soak it. So you did that. And then you trimmed off the edges just a little bit with whatever knife you've got handy. So a little bit of that. And you should always anchor this down, because flowers have weight, and if it's going to travel in the back seat of a car, you don't know what could happen between your driveway and the next driveway. Now I'm going to put a candle in this, just sort of temporarily. If you were going to put a candle in this for sure, for real, you'd want it in the center, of course. And so your tape should not go across the center. Okay, so I'm going to stick this critter in kind of there. Okay, the candle goes in first, and I didn't shove it all the way down. So if you wanted that, then all right. So now I'm going to put the cross tape on it. And this is called bowl tape, and it's really icky sticky. Now, if you can't find a supplier that has bowl tape, Scotch tape would do, but that's wider than this. This is 1/4 of an inch, so it's really quite thin. Okay, the first thing that you should do when you're starting an arrangement. And this arrangement is going to be standard, straight out of the shoebox kind of thing. If you're going to celebrate Aunt Frizzy's 90th birthday, then you probably want something fairly common, and something that's, you know, something that is not surprising. All right, this is called lemon leaf with an M, and I had to order this, and it's a shrub that grows in Florida. I've seen it, and I saw it, and I almost wanted to do a floral arrangement right there and there. Okay, and so this is going to be not round. It's going to be sort of a. All right, and when you are, whenever you're choosing your flowers and your so on, you should try to have 3 different kinds of greenery in an arrangement, just to make things interesting. So that's what we're gonna do here. And you want to trim off any little knobby things so that it slips in better. And I'm cutting these off because this is a small arrangement. Okay. And because I'm going to use these curves. Okay. So anyway, if you check the list that you got on foliage, and you'll see that there's an awful lot of stuff that you could use for foliage. If you're not sure about foliage, go out and clip whatever shrubbery you've got handy and put it in a vase or water overnight. Right, now this is going to set our dimensions, this is going to set our height. And if it looks decent the next day, you're good. And if it looks like bonked over, well, then not so good. So, okay. Lightly green, as in not much going on, flower-wise. And this is going to be my my number 3 foliage. Okay. If it works at Christmas, it still works now. So you can just stick it in here and there. Actually, there was a big branch that fell down from a local school, a recent storm. So I just went into on their campus and got a couple branches. I figured they wouldn't mind. Okay, so we've got a few sprigs left over, which we will use. We're going to use every single piece we've got here. Okay. Now, since this is going to be pretty normal and we're not going to do anything exciting here. We're going to, look at our outward dimension here. So this sort of long, and this is going to go right to the tip, right between these leaves. Other end. Okay. So here we go. And now the rest of this stuff just fills in. So okay, so these short ones, of course, will go right here, side. And here's another short one. Let's get that to the other side. And then we're going to start tucking these things in. Okay. So we've got red, yellow, and we're going to use a couple of snapdragons. Now the trick with snapdragons is they're not hardy in the winter, are they? Of course they aren't. And so they're coming from a far away place. And some of them travel better than others of them. So we're going to that's way too big. Okay, scratch that. Let me see if I can find a shorter one. Or else I could just make that shorter. Why don't we do this one? This is having a hard time. So, yeah, this will. Thanks for sleeping up, Jenny.
Looking forward to it, Claudia.
Okay. Kind of the same. All right. And we're going to save the buds. You always use every single, you bought all of this, so we're going to use it all. Okay, and some of these bigger ones below. For a table arrangement, you want things to be absolutely symmetrical. And of course, in nature, that ain't happening. So we do our best. And we sort of tuck this stuff in the leaves. Okey-doke. So there's your basic, let's put this. That's sort of your basic, as in 3 greens, basic flowers, and I'm going to finish up sticking these in. And I'll put in a little bit of wax flower in a second, which is a filler. Everybody thinks that the go-to filler is baby's breath, and it is, and you can grow that. It's not that hard. And if it doesn't seem that you can see all of the flowers just really obviously all the time, that's part of the adventure of looking at something like this. Is you can't see everything all the time. Okay, I'll leave these. Okay, this is called wax flower. And so we're just going to take some stems of these. Some of these have flowers on them and some of them not so. Okay. They say you don't want everything real obvious all the time. Okay, you need to cut these at an angle so they go. This looks like snap decisions. You're on it. Well, that didn't have much starch. Oh, I wanted to say some things about water. Okay, so in your instructions, you're supposed to soak your flowers overnight that you buy at a florist, and you soak the foam. Water is not real simple. It depends on your water source. If you have well water, then you may have all sorts of things in that well water, chemical wise, from the soil, limestone, and yada, yada, yada. If you have city water, then you are likely to have chlorine in your water if your city chlorinates. And so those things make a difference. I used, oh, and the other thing, if you've got a water softener in your house, you had best use distilled water, because if you know how that water softener works, you buy salt all the time. Well, duh. And so that just dooms any kind of thing that wants to grow. So I buy distilled water and use it for my house plants, and use it for soaking and doing everything like this. So, okay, I think we're about done with this thing. How do you know you're finished? It's sort of like a composition in English. How do you know? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so how do you know in floral design that you're finished is if you cannot see the foam. And so since I can see the foam in some places, then I'm going to go back in and finish greening. Okay. And I'm going to tuck some things around so that doesn't happen. And these little witchy things that we said we would use, well, this is where we use them. Okay. Because if this is a table arrangement, and if Aunt Frizzy has got her glasses on, she'll tell you that you missed a spot. So we don't want to, if this is Aunt Frizzy's celebration, we want to treat her right. Okie doke. So that's about done, except that we have these left over, and so they are not going to be left over. We're going to use every single little nibbit here. Every single nibbit, even the nibbits. See, was there any other thing I wanted to mention for you? Okay, in choosing a container, you saw that I had this green looking thing. You can use anything that holds water. And I'm not being just silly there. There are some things that don't hold water. There are some floral containers, like really nice bowls and so on and so on and so on. And you think, oh, I could put an arrangement in there. Yeah, well, don't put it in there unless you have sat it overnight in the sink. Because you might get a surprise on your mahogany table the next morning when all of a sudden you've got a puddle. And then you get to refinish the table. So, okay. Closing in on this. So make sure that whatever you use to hold your flowers is going to hold water. Otherwise, okie doke. Now, this would be a normal little table arrangement. Okie doke. What if you're not entertaining Aunt Frizzy? What if you are going to have a reception and you need something for the table. Well, here you go. Now, you could use a container like this, which is a regular floral design type thing. And I've trimmed the edges just so they aren't too sharp. And I put bowl tape around this already. And I've lightly greened it. Okay, lightly green means that you've set the dimensions. So it's going to be this long and it's not going to be very high because you don't want it to interfere with food. After all, you spend all that time preparing food. So okay, so here we go. So the way we're going to extend this is with flowers that are already pretty extensive. And I don't know if you follow the weather, but we here in Illinois yesterday had snow, just for fun. All right, and these things suffered some damage before they even arrived to us, I think. So the gladiolas that you would grow in your backyard are not going to be quite this long, not unless you're a better gardener than I am. So that's A. B is they're going to show better. Okay, and they will be floor, but I'm going to do this anyway, just because we need an example. Okay, so this is going to go out to here. Now, since this is far longer than my leather leaf is, my lemon leaf or my leather leaf is, either one, I'm going to trim this back because these blooms way out here don't seem to have a lot of promise. So we'll just fix that. Because this is not for any reception that I'm familiar with, so I'm just making this for what if you wanted to do this. Okay, so this is what you would do. And by the way, a florist would be happy to make this for you because it's not one of those. They make those all the time. A florist would be very happy to make one of these for you, except that you would have the problem of how do you get it home? All right, so if you make this in your kitchen or in your own utility room, then all you have to do is walk it into the dining room and you have arrived in all kinds of ways. So, okay. Okay, and since, yeah, I got one too many. Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's a pity these things don't show, but they don't, so. Okay. Choosing your flowers can be a real traumatic experience if you let it be traumatic. All right. Some of you are, I'm certain, good with color. I am not. I have trouble carrying color in my mind. And so I have some issues, which is why I have a color chart. And for years, I carried a small version of this in my purse. So if you are in a florist shop and you want to really, really, really get something really gorgeous, then that will look good and look like it was planned, then you need to follow the chart. And then you can get to the, then you can get the colors that go together, and it looks put together. Okay, we need to do some more greening. Yeah, let's put this around the side. So, and flowers will tell you where to go. They'll, you know, this is more roundy, so it's just gonna go right here. And this is more flatty, so we'll have to put it this way. This is such a little nubbin that I'm gonna have to use this basic stem to get any kind of height on it. Pardon me? Oh, the names of the flowers. Obviously, these are alstroemeria, these are gladiolas, and these are chrysanthemums that look like daisies. And actually, folks, you can, if you were doing this out of your backyard, we can pretend that these are zinnias. We don't have zinnias in Illinois right now, so this is what we got. Okay, 4, 3. Okay. So these are chrysanthemums, and okay, we need, it looks like, put in a couple of, well, you know, my floral teacher said, it really doesn't matter what the colors are if God grew it. But you got to be careful if you bought it plastic. So we're just going to pitch these in. And here, and one over to the other side. Okay, looking kind of full. Let's put in some greenery that's gonna matter here in a hurry. Lemon leaf is the greenery. Okay, remember what I said, you're not finished if you can still see the foam. So this greenery at the end is really important. It's not just to use it up. You know, I'm gonna use the rest of this leather leaf on this side. It won't be balanced, but hey. Okay, so this way. Yeah, you just have to make sure that it tucks around. Right, I'm gonna use this big one. Take this off. Okay, doke. I'm looking at the time, and I want to really hustle here. So I'm not going to take the time to put in I'll put this up top. Put in the filler. You know, it takes no experience at all to just tuck in filler. So anyway, there you go. Something flat fur and quite long fur. And if you wanted to put a candle in this, remember you'd put that in right from the get-go. So here's that one.
Okay, so we're gonna take a minute here then to turn on Claudia's PowerPoint, and she'll talk about the different flowers you can use. And then we will have a segment for questions at the end, and we will bring those beautiful arrangements closer to the screen and the camera so that they can see them up close. And they did ask about the knife that you used also, Claudia. Is it just?
Well, actually, I think it's a Swiss Army knife. But any sort of, it does say Switzerland stainless. Okay, any knife, you can use this as a measuring. Okay, so this is 6 inches and this is less than that. Really sharp. All I gotta say is get used to it. Okay, you ready?
Hi, no, you did not use or lose connection with us. We are just taking a moment here to stop, and I'm going to share Claudia's PowerPoint so that she can start talking about the flowers that she uses.
Okay, am I ready?
should be able to, yep. Advance, not advancing.
And it's not clicking. Yeah. Try again. Oh. Ooh. Well, I could keep arranging.
It's not.
I'm sorry. Okay, doke. Moving on. Black-eyed Susans and marigolds, I think, have a bad rap just because they're so common. Too bad for them. It's sort of like gladiolas are considered the funeral flower. Bad rap on that. They're good flowers. Snapdragons are a treat for little boys and girls. When they're little, they snap on them. Pansies, heliotrope, yes and yes. Black and blue salvia is a favorite of hummingbirds. I've got that in my back yard next to my dining room. And it's sort of in a microclimate there. And it winters over, lucky me. And of course, the hummingbirds know where that is all the time. Okay, stocks are, I think, a first cousin to snapdragons, except they have a stronger aroma. Okay, if you're going to grow sunflowers, keep the squirrels away. Good luck on that one. Your grandchildren will want you to plant the sunflowers that are as big as your head. Don't do that. The squirrels will eat it all before they ever get ripe. Buy the bush ones that are smaller, and then you can use them in arrangements, and they don't attract squirrels quite so much. Zinnias are the best bang for the buck for $1.89. The more you cut, the more they bloom, and if you don't have good air circulation and it gets mildew, the flowers are still good. So just strip off the leaves and go at it. Tulips are good. We had snow yesterday, and the tulips that were left from the rabbits in my backyard are looking good because they close up at night or when it's cold, and then they continue blooming later. I like to buy the short ones at the late season, ones, not the early tall ones. They are more sturdy. And not much to say about daffodils. We've all got gobs of those. Okay, right, big onion. Okay, if you want some dramatic floral arrangements, iris have got it because they have a tip at the end. Sometimes it don't, that doesn't bloom all the way out. Buying, and I made this mistake, I have purchased iris that are hybrids and very gorgeous, and the blooms are so large that they just bonk over. So the stuff that my grandmother grew was just fine with me. Okay, gladiolas, as I say, are perfect for all sorts of things, and I've got another arrangement to make with those. So hopefully everything here will bloom out eventually. If you grow dahlias, good on you. These little ones, these little bush ones are cute. I like to grow the great big ones, the dinner plate size. And when you plant the bulb, which by the way, it's way too soon to do that. I don't get around to those till mid-June or even later. Put the stake right next to the bulb before you cover everything over, because if you look at it about a month later and say, oh man, gee, I have to stake these things, you're likely to shish kebab the bulb, and so then you're going to be in trouble. So put a 4-foot stake right next to your bulb as soon as you plant it, and you'll won't give yourself that grief. Everybody wants naked ladies. They're great. Surprise lilies. The foliage comes up right now and then it disappears and you think things died. But in late July, there you go. Tiger lilies, favorite of my grandmother. And I've got some. Baptisia is an incredible flower. It does not like to be moved. It's very temperamental, but it blooms at the same time peonies do. And so if you've got a couple of peony bushes and a baptisia blooming at the same time, you don't have to hunt around your backyard to make an arrangement. You've got it. The heliotrope, no, not, that's the hellebore, pardon me, is right on schedule. It bloomed first week in Lent. It was just like it had its little dinger and it went off, and we've had terrible weather since then. And now they are foot and a half tall in my backyard. So just great. And those blooms, they hang down. And so those blooms will be there till, I don't know, June. The great phlox, the same way with mildew. If the leaves have mildew, just don't give it a concern. It's not going to kill anything. Just yank them off and use the flowers. Roses, okay. There's zinnias and then there's roses. And if you want something gorgeous, roses really are your best bang for the buck. The way, and that's why I am not arranging any roses, except for one. Roses need really special care, because when you cut them, the rose plant takes a deep breath and it goes, ah! Okay, and it breathes in this air, and that gives it an air bubble that will cause it to droop after a day or two. And you wonder, well, I fertilized this rose, why is it walking over? Well, here's what you do. You take a bucket of water or a jar of water, and you go out to the backyard with your clippers, and you very carefully decide which roses you're going to clip. And then you put your bucket and or your jar right next to that and clip it and get it in that fast, just boom, get it in water as fast as you can move it. Okay, and then it'll be fine. And after that, anytime you recut it, it needs to be underwater. And I've got a little gizzy I'll show you here in a few seconds, hopefully. Okay, moving on. That's why whenever I see diagrams or pictures of roses in a basket, I'm thinking, yeah, they look pretty now, but not next week, not 2 days from now. Bee balm, of course, attracts the bees, so that's super. Liatris can be used like a gladiola can for dramatic effect and so on. It's lots of height. Astilbe, nice in the spring, and stonecrop attracts the butterflies in late summer. And you can use the seed heads later anyway in the winter. Okay, this is my backyard, and the Chiara japonica is not a rose. It is just a little yellow flower. Rose like crazy. The stems are green all winter, so that's something nice to look at. And you can tell it's on a trellis, kinda. It doesn't pay much attention to the trellis. And on the right is my grandmother's flowering dwarf almond. She called it China Bell, and so you can see that if you went to a nursery today and asked for China Bell, they'd think you had 3 ears. So that's why Latin names are important, so we all know what we're talking about. Beauty bush really is, particularly in the fall when those leaves go yellow, and then you've got those purple berries. It is just drop dead gorgeous. So it's worth it. Ask your nursery person to order that for you. And wild native ginger has a flower you don't care about because it lies right on the soil so that the bugs can crawl in and pollinate it. But the leaves are used in nosegays and in wedding bouquets. So that's for that. Evergreens are green, and mint is always super. And I've got some right here where I'm going to use in a minute. And hostas, of course. Yes, why not? Everywhere. Flowering cabbage and holly. If something's green in December, it's going to be green in April. So I didn't cut any of mine, but I could have and used it in today's arrangements. Look at your house plants, okay? They owe you. Peace lily leaves sometimes will go straight up if you want something straight up. or they'll flop sort of at a right angle, like a hand being held out. Depends on what you need. And philodendron works. If you're not sure if you've got the right kind of philodendron or whatever, put it in a jar overnight and look at it the next morning. All of you got the sweetened water recipes. I use the first one all the time, simply because I generally have a half bottle of 7-Up in the fridge. If anybody else complains to me that it's flat, then I agree that it is flat. It's not for you, it's for my flowers. Okay, I would do 2 and 3 only if you really cared to measure things. A commercial preservative needs to have the directions followed very carefully. More is not better, okay? So, end of that.
Okay, Claudia, I'm gonna come in there in a minute so people can see you again. The first question we had was, how do cut flowers do in well water?
Who knows? I don't know what your soil composition is. Try it out. Who knows? I truly don't know. They should do fine or maybe not. So,
They want to see the arrangements up close.
can they hear me?
Yep, they can hear you.
Okay, so here we go. The next arrangement I'm going to make, less is sometimes better. Okay, so what if you want to celebrate something really fantastic? Okay, like your grandson got a job and you have no idea what it is, but it's going to pay a boatload of money. A lot of these jobs, we have no idea what they do. Okay, so I'm going to make an arrangement for that sort of a celebration. Or if you are finished with cancer therapy, you want to celebrate. All right, and so here I'm going to make something that doesn't take a lot of time, and you can, if you're lucky, get this stuff in your backyard. Oh, that's just way too big.
Laura, we have a few questions from people, so.
Well, we'll deal with the questions. Okay, I want to get this one done. Okay, thanks to John Bodensteiner, this is red twig dogwood. Okay, folks, when you are choosing shrubbery for your yard and so on, don't just take what's on special. Ask for some other good stuff. Okay, a burning bush is not going to help you at all. You need some other stuff. All right, some red twig dogwood, which is what this is. House plant, which is what Sansevieria, mother-in-law's tongue. Okay, and a couple of these. Okay, and here comes the drama. Okay, this is going to be a celebration where you waited for this day a long time. Okay, your son's going to buy you lunch. Okay, so we have red twig dogwood as the green. We have Sansevieria as the I have to cut this back a bit. We have Sansevieria, and I'm going to trim the end off of this one. And then, watch this, folks. Okay. Now, when I practiced this morning, I got the angle exactly right. I think I'm a little fudgy on the angle here. Okay, so what I did was I took the foam, and it's wet, and I just shoved it in there, and then I trimmed off the edge. This is not going to drip on the table, perfectly dry. It is okay, and here is the celebration part. All right, I'm doing this only on one side because I am looking at the clock. Okay, since I will be seeing this tape come off, I'm going to make sure I don't see the tape. I'm going to put a hosta over it. Put a hosta over this one. Well, not so easy. So that way, put one down the middle so it looks like we planned it. All right, and can't find my stuff. All right, Schifferia, houseplant, it owes you. All right, I'm going to come around so I don't have to move this thing. All right, these things are super. See how that just fills that in? Okay. Just sort of tuck it around. Remember, we said we don't want to see the foam. Okay. Done. Okay. Now, you could put that, I'm not going to do both sides. We don't have time. But you could put that next to his diploma or back next to the first paycheck or next to the doctor's report that tells you that someone you love is healthy enough to go on a trip or whatever. So there's that. So what if you say, well, all right, Claudia, I got all this gig, but what if I don't have all these plants in my backyard? What do I do then? Well, here's what you do. Okay, you get yourself ready for less is better. Okay, these are frogs. I've collected these over the years. Okay, so anytime you're in a flower shop, see if you can come up with some frogs. All righty. And we've talked about roses. All righty. And so I bought one. Okay, because I want to show you something. And this one, after this morning, looks a little tired. Okay, so you're going to say, well, how in the world do you get this thing home? Well, when I went to the store this morning, I took I can't get it in. I will get this thing out. I want to show you. Okay, one of these little critters. Okay, and the lady said, "Oh my goodness, you came prepared." Well, yes, of course I did. All right, so this has been in water all afternoon. Now, my sweet husband bought this for me. Don't ask me where he got it. I have no clue. It cuts roses underwater. Guess what? Look at that. Da-da, da-da. So we're just going to cut this puppy all the way down until we get a use for it. Because there's a refrigerator in this room, but no sink. Okay? Okay, and it's still perfectly fine. Guess what? It's still in water, okay? So I'm going to give it one more whack and give it a try. I need another whack on it. Another whack. Well, you know what? Maybe I could spit on it and it'll work. Okay, here we go. Now, if you have not ever stepped over a rose in your backyard and crushed it, then you're a better gardener than I am. So there you go. If you have one rose, and what do you do with it? Well, there's that. If you have one big dinner plate dahlia, what do? Well, we got you figured. All right, this is a contorted hazelnut, Harry Lauder's walking stick. It's on your list, and we're going to put this in a frog. Okay, and if part of it sits on the table, then we'll just let it sit. All right, now you could do this later in the season. I've got a really sweet friend. I went into her backyard this morning and got a couple of hosta leaves. So you could put a couple of hosta leaves in here. Okay, aren't these lovely? And considering this is April, this is really amazing. Okay. And so what we're going to put in there is that we're going to pretend that this is a big dahlia. It's not cooperating. Okay. Done. If we had more time, we would do more of that. Okay. What if, oh, I'm running over. What if you got just one flower? Well, here, you know, some of you, I'm sure, like to go to craft stores and so on and so on and so on. Well, I got this in North Carolina where my niece took me. Okay, and here's a little frog inside. So you've got just enough water for one flower. Da-da, da-da, da. Done. And if we had more time, we'd put some leaves in there. Okay, let's see. Rose in the champagne, I got that. Okay, well, let's go to an arrangement that I made this morning. And I want you to see this up close. Okay, it looks kind of straggly, but that was the whole point. Not a nickel was spent on this. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is take it apart and show you what it was to begin with. Okay, so this is not a put together, this is a take apart. Okay, first of all, we've got some pine cones. So if you were raking up, you'd just put those in compost. And then here are some potatoes that were under in my potato bin. I bought potatoes and then my daughter bought potatoes, and well, there's the answer for that one. And the same sort of thing, another pine cone. And the same sort of thing with this onion. I bought onions and she bought onions, and so there we go, garbage. Okay, last fall, I have a red oak that's new in the yard, and so it had a branch that was growing toward the trunk. And so I went out and trimmed it before really bad weather came. And so I thought, you know, I might use this somehow. Well, so these are leaves that you would just rake up and put in the garbage. Okay, next up, does anybody have onions in your yard? I got gobs. And so this one got moved. More leaves. Anybody have violets in your yard? Here we go. Violets. More violets. Okay, and I think I told you about the tree that fell down at the school near me. Well, here's the pine thing. All right, more violets in there. Okay, and some of you who tuned in to the Christmas program might have remembered me showing you this. This is absolute drop dead gorgeous, I think. This was in the alley. I'm really lucky to have a river birch that's dying across, it's not mine, it's across the street, but all this stuff falls in the alley. And so here we go. I threatened to use it, and I did. So what I did was just stuff the inside with this foam, and these were getting a little frosted last afternoon as it was snowing. So that's why they look kind of sad. All right, and then this was given to me by a very good friend. So none of this cost a nickel. And yet all of this would have been put in compost or in the garbage that's hauled off every Monday for me. Okay, so look around. You might have, I know you do, you have stuff in your backyard that you could put in an arrangement if you could see the beauty of it, is the thing. And sometimes you can't see the beauty of it. Or you can go to the grocery store. Okay, and if you go to the grocery store, here's what happens. Okay, I don't want to bring my lovely, lovely chopping board that John made.
I will move this so that they can see
Okay.
better. Unfortunately, they can also see me, but there you go.
Okay, so the first thing up is cucumber. All right, and what we're going to do is take the center out. Won't take long. Everybody ought to have a melon ball just to wow your grandchild. Okay, and now where are there they are. Okay, so into this one. Now we're going to pretend that these are zinnias. Alrighty, so since I can't find zinnias, we'll just do this. And let's put it in a bud. Why not? Because I got plans for the rest. Okay, so you could put that on a caster, glass caster. There you go. We got that. let us suppose that you cannot come up with anything that's green. Nothing green at your house. Well, guess what there is? Of course there is. Okay, there's always stuff. You can find this green stuff right here. Okay, and I thought I had another apple in there, but I don't see it right now. So, okay, so what you can do is you can take any sort of flower, and we're going to imagine that these are zinnias or whatever you have in mind. Now you can buy these little vials at any florist shop. And so you fill it with water and you stick it wherever you want. Okay. And let's put a couple in that one. So if you've got company coming and the place has got to look good in a hurry, then and here you go. Okay. And I know that it's colander, so it's not as if I'm going to have water everywhere because I've got vials. Okay, so that works. Okay, or you can take orange. Okay, so that sort of sits kind of on that angle. So we're going to take it off here. And here again, you've got to use your color wheel. Okay, so the contrast with the blue and the orange. Think of Illinois, folks. This is not quite the blue, but and well, I'll take a little one. I have plans for that one. Okay, we got that. Okay, and the next is okay. Now this is going to be ratatouille for me tomorrow night. Okay, so here we've got an eggplant. All right. Better if I use this thing. I was going to do something else with these, but we're way out of time, so this is what's going to happen here. So I know that some of you grow eggplant. This place did smell like onions when I had that other thing up, but now it's going to smell like. Okay.
For those who are not here, it smells like fruit in here and cucumbers and flowers. It smells wonderful.
All right, and so let us say, well, all right, Claudia, fancy pants you, but there's no greenery. Well, hang on, I got you covered. Let's put some kale around here. Some of that kale looks a little tired. Okay, so there's that. right out of the garden. Oops, let's turn it that way so it looks like, since we're not doing the back sides of anything here. All right, let us suppose,
Okay, hold it up so that they can see. There's the orange with the flowers.
okay. All right, so my grandchildren are coming this weekend. And my daughter and her husband are gonna get their second shots because it's easier to get them in Danville than it is up in Chicago. And so grandma is in charge of lunch and dinner and all of it. And they just love hot dogs. So here's the slaw. Okay. It looks like I'm making slaw right here, but not quite. Okay. And I thought, I got this, I'll show you the book that this came from, is this book right here. When we were in France a couple summers ago, well, longer than that, we stopped for gas. And while they were getting pumped up, I just looked around the gas station and there was a bookshelf, like books. Who knew? So I bought this book. Of course, it was in French, and I figured, well, that's all right. Surely to mercy, I can learn enough French. Oh, not yet. So my daughter, I was in a panic because I really wanted to use some of the stuff out of there. She's got an app on her fancy pants phone. So she just looked at it and there you go. Okay. And the last one, and my grandson just loves watermelon. And even though it is not in season, I just, okay, so that's where it sort of sits. Oh, this is a tough one. And not ripe either. Well, okay, we're just gonna help it along a little bit. So that one would go here, and this one would go here. And let's put a nubbin. You can see how carefully I'm arranging all of this. Okay, so it's there. Maybe one more. That one doesn't. Let's turn that way. And just to make sure we know why we did this, here's your 4th of July centerpiece. Oops, we lost one here. Okay, and since you are missing a whole lot of your Wednesday evening programs, we best stop. Okay. So, questions?
So you had some questions, Claudia. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Diane W. said, could you please explain again what is the base in the beginning and how it is attached to the vase or the container in the very beginning?
Yes. Well, it's just kind of easy. I'll just take this part. Your base can be anything. Your base can be grandma's coffee grandma's gravy boat, for heaven's sakes. This is a standard type of floral piece, and I'm not sure you can buy these. I've looked in a couple of stores and I can't find these, so you might have to go online to like Floral Design or some cool thing and get it. Okay, but it's
And-
just whoop.
And
Okay,
can you hold it up closer to the camera then?
sure. Mhm. It's got these little sticks in it that help hold it.
Perfect. Okay.
All right, but you need to always tape it in. And then you need to trim the foam just so you don't have edges that break off and so on. But yeah. So next.
Okay. And then we'd had a question on when you're cutting your flowers, how do you know where to cut the stalk in regards to the bud and the blooms?
Oh, excellent. Everybody pay attention now. Okay. Well, why don't I try this one? Okay. And I'll come up. Okay. Basic botany. Each one of these things is a
Oh, sorry,
node.
Claudia. I don't know
Pardon?
why, but if you back up a little bit, there you go. Perfect.
All right, this is a node, that's a node, that's a node, that's a node. A node is any place that you're going to have a branch or a leaf come off. Okay, and I just have to say this for Chuck Schrader. I know that because I took a class. Okay, if you cut, and I just whack this off, if you cut a flower right below a node, then it's going to have difficulty in getting water all the way on up. It needs a good start because the cell structure inside is just a little different every time there's a node, of course. All right, so where you would cut anything is right above a node, okay? And then this is gonna be a straight shot and will help this stem absorb more. So when you're out cutting your flowers, cut above a node, and then if you have to recut it again for an arrangement, try to still cut it above a node, okay? And it will help your flowers stay fresher, okay? Next.
Okay. And then we had a question. You talked about what kind of knife you were using.
Right.
Why cut the greens the day before?
Oh, you should cut everything, everything needs to get fully hydrated. This foam has a lot of water in it because you soaked it overnight, or at least 3 or 4 hours before you started doing it. But your flowers are just getting stuff as they need it. Well, it's going to need more water to be arranged than just normal existence. So you want it to be able to have, you want it to have access to as much water as it will possibly absorb for as long as possible. And it should be sweetened water, depending on what let me close this up or we're gonna be in trouble. It should be sweetened water, depending on the flower and so on and so on. But yeah, everything needs to be as hydrated as possible. And then if you are gifted, or if you have this for your own house, if you have a floral arrangement like any of these here, keep it well watered. People get arrangements, oh, it lasted 3 days. Well, it should last a week, okay? If you keep water in the bottom, and the way you can do that, just stick a finger in there and see what's going on. Okay, take it to the kitchen sink, put in nice water, not distilled, not softened water, but distilled water if you've got it. And stuff should last longer than 3 days, for heaven's sakes. Okay. There was one other thing I wanted to say, and when do you cut your flowers? Well, there's a whole bunch of arguments like this. Should you cut it in the morning, or the dew is still on it, or should you cut it in the evening when it's full of sugar after being in the sun all day? And my answer is cut it whenever you get around to it, not from 10 to 3 in the afternoon at all. That's because the flower is trying to exist through the heat of the day. But early in the morning, late in the evening, and if you cut it, if you're out in your garden early in the morning, then you have a chance to find little bumblebees who are sleeping in the flowers. They still have their pajamas on, and so you can pet them, and they will just go boo, and then they'll look at you like you're nuts. And but they won't bite or sting, or they just lay there and say, "Don't bother me anymore." So then you go somewhere else.
Okay.
Next.
There are some more questions. The type of greenery in the arrangements, I believe you used leather leaf.
Yes. All right. Any florist shop, grocery store has gobs of this. And this is lemon, Lemon, lemon leaf. I really like this because it covers more and I just think it's prettier. So,
Okay. And then they asked about the stem ends. They said some looked quite short. Some of your stems looked quite short. The ones you used as fillers, I believe.
oh, yes, because if you have a long stem, why you cut it short? Because you don't want it to go through and go out the other side.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, if there's any skill to this at all, is to make your things that you stick in the foam, the flower and the filler and all of it, so that the other end of it is still in the foam and it's not at the other side. Okay, which does you no good at all because then it's not going to stay hydrated.
Okay.
Okay.
Somebody asked about alternatives to floral foam.
Oh. You know, I'm going to punt on that one because I would not have a clue. The alternative for floral foam is to put it in a vase. I'm sorry. You cannot use floral foam a second time. I know that for sure because you use it the first time, it's full of holes. And people will give me these bases back with the foam already in it and say, oh, see, Claudia's ready to go again. Well, no, it isn't, because you can't use that the second time. It's full
And
of
somebody
holes.
else asked about the stems. So then the stems don't crisscross.
Well, they can crisscross, but you don't want them going out the other end.
Okay.
You know, if you're seeing if you're putting in flowers and you're seeing, and you're down there looking and you're seeing a stem end that has come through, then you pull that thing out and cut it shorter and put it somewhere else, because
Okay.
it's going to wilt and go funky on you.
And then there was another, couple other questions. When to decide to use those metal pointy spikes to hold the flowers in the foam? Is there a time that's better to use them than others?
Oh, these things?
I believe
would-
so.
Pardon?
Yes.
I would not use these in foam at all. I would use these in something crazy like this. I would,
Oh, somebody said they think that the person meant the frogs. What did you mean by the frogs? And then they said, no, not those little plastic tubes, but the straws, the metal straws that you poke in.
the metal straws.
Sticks, wire wrapped sticks.
Ooh.
To support some of the flowers, or if you're putting in candy.
Oh, they remember Christmas, don't they? Sure they do. Okay.
They did mean straws, I guess. I'm not sure. I didn't see you use
Yeah,
straws, but
okay.
yes.
All right, so here's an example. Okay, if we had a whole lot of time, I could just bore you folks till you would just cry uncle and go to bed. Okay, you can buy these little sticks. They're called picks. And when should you use them? All right, this is Linaria left over from last fall. All righty, and the money plant, whatever you want to call it, is Linaria. And so anyway, if you stick lunaria into foam that's wet, which of course it has to be, it's gonna just go soft on you and it's just gonna go bonk. So the way to keep it stiff is to put it with a pick, and the pick will keep this thing, whatever you attach it to, will keep it vertical or horizontal or however you want it. But that's when, and that's the only time you would use anything like this. I have not used any picks at all today in these fresh arrangements.
Okay. And then somebody else asked about frogs versus oasis.
Okay. Okay, you could not use okay. In something like this arrangement, I can
Could you,
fill
could
that.
you hold it up to the camera? Could you hold
Sure.
that one up? Thank you.
All right, in something like this arrangement, I can fill this with water and it can slosh around. And so that means that this contorta and the imaginary dahlia, the chrysanthemum here, and the hostilies will get a whole lot of water. And that'll be just yim dandy. So you could use a frog here. If I put an oasis in here, if I put a sponge, a foam in here, it might hold this in place or not. This is quite heavy. And so I was able to force it into this frog, and I know it will not go anywhere. It really just depends on the kind of arrangement that you're making. And yeah, you can put a okay, if I were going to do, which we don't have time for, unfortunately. All right, but if I were going to do a big arrangement in this, which would be to use up everything we've got, and I want certain stems to really stay where I put them, then I could put this. Well, maybe I could. Yeah, I could put this in the bottom and take my stem and force it into that frog, and it would not move. Okay, and yet I could fill the vase with water and it would be just fine. I would not make a vase arrangement with foam at all. A foam arrangement is something where you have a lot of little stuff, and you're very picky about where it goes.
They wanted to know if you could hold up those other two to the camera. The one that you said would be good for a graduation and that's in the blue vase.
Sure.
And did you have water in that blue vase?
No, I don't.
Look at
All
that.
right.
That's beautiful.
I
And if you stand by the table, they can probably see it, like back up a little bit because it's large. That's
Oh.
gorgeous, Claudia.
okay, so no, there's no water in the vase. There could be water in the vase, but the water, okay, there could be water in the vase, but I soaked this foam, and so when it comes to watering this, I would take it to the kitchen sink and put it in the sink, and then I would drip water on the foam, and it would be just yum dandy. If you tried to just put this under a hose or a big faucet, it would just go every which way. So this is kind of problematic in taking care of it for very long. But anyway.
But it's stunning. And I think maybe just hold up the other.
All right, and you want to see the other one?
They would like to see them up close, yes. That was beautiful.
Okay. Now this one has a foam that's the whole length All right, so you can see the base goes from here to here. And this is an entire block that is not cut. Okay, I trimmed a little off the top edge, so it was smooth. Okay, and I put 2 bands of mold tape on it to hold it secure. Because these things get heavy, and if you take them somewhere in a car, then they're bonk over, and then you have to go back home and start all over again.
And can you name the flowers that are on there? Just
Okay.
kind of quickly.
These are gladiolas here at either end. These are snapdragons. These are alstroemeria. And these are chrysanthemums that are yellow chrysanthemums, look like daisies, or white chrysanthemums. And you could just go into a grocery store anyway and say, I want flowers that look like daisies. And this is what they'll give you. Okay, and then I use this because this extends out further than the leather leaf that I got, and then filled in with the leather leaf. Okay.
Beautiful. And can you show the other two, the one that's in the champagne glass with the rose? I believe you saw that, you said in the French book.
Oh, yeah.
They put a rose in a wine glass or.
Okay, so here's your rose with sprig of mint. All right, and this should last. We cut it underwater. Well, until the last bit, we cut it underwater. But a rose that's well cut, that's in the right kind of water. Now this will not last for a week because it's fully open, and that's what I wanted. They were very glad to get rid of this rose this morning, and that's what I wanted. The mint though is just yim dandy. This is out of my backyard, and so it just gives a little bit of character to it.
Very beautiful. And then I don't know if I saw the other arrangement up close or not. The little one.
This one,
Sure, sure.
oh, this is sort of wibbly wobbly. Okay, so whoop, this is a little frog. If you were to go to an artsy crafty store, I mean, this thing is signed, so you know I paid nickels for that one. All right, and it's got a little reservoir, and then you put the little frog in it. That used to be glued, but then obviously it came unglued. And so you can put a single flower in it and you're done.
Beautiful. Love the color.
Or I gotta tell you, tansy is on your list. Tansy is excellent, is an excellent greenery and filler and so on. And they're going to be selling tansy at the Herb Garden sale this Sunday. So for those of you who are local and you want some tansy, go there. It they don't have, it comes in little or it comes in gross, big ones. And she said that they had only the big ones. If you get the tansy, then plan on staking it. Don't wait till it flops over and then think, oh gee, I ought to stake that thing. Stake it once it gets about 1.5 feet tall and you see that it's growing bigger. And the fronds on that are almost as big as your arm. So that is more reliable than ferns, I found. I do not have luck with ferns as greenery or as English ivy, which is really annoying because I got a lot of that stuff. Sorry. Okay, any other thing?
I believe that was all the questions. We did record, you did a wonderful job. We did record this. Somebody mentioned Jacob's Ladder, Verdania, Bleeding Heart, Salvia.
Okay, if it's not on this list, if it's not on the list that I gave you, then give it a go. It may not be considered good for cutting. I've got 2 books. Okay, this one I found in our Danville Public Library, and it was so great. And then I looked for it. I couldn't find it, so I decided I had to steal it. And then I decided, well, I could go to a rare books website, and I got the thing. So I mean, this is way out of date. If it's not listed in here, I would say it's kind of iffy as to whether it would last in a cutting situation, but you could get lucky, so go for it. You know, just keep it overnight and see what happens. Some things, some flowers will wilt within 2 hours. Others will wilt a day later. Some will last a week. How do you know? And this is the French book that I got. It's just way cool. If I can find one of the things that not too easily. Okay, so here's, I have yellow roses in limes. Well, what am I gonna do with a bag of limes? Chose green apples. So anyway.
Creative though. Very
Yeah.
good.
Lots of fun.
So thank you, Claudia, and thank you everybody for all the great questions. They also mentioned the Harry Lauder's walking stick as a plant as well. And it was really a lot of fun, and thank you everybody for participating.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, what was the French book? She actually did find that in France. You
Yeah,
said
it was at a gas station. How many gas stations in the United States sell books?
it was called Bouquets. And who is it by?
Oh, who knows?
You
Oh,
have to
you want me to pronounce the person's name? Oh, I can do that. Pamela Westland. Ha ha ha. Who knew?
Pamela Westland. There
Sounds
you go.
British to me.
All right. Well, everybody have a wonderful summer and enjoy your making flower arrangements.
Oh,
and-
and one thing, okay, 2 things I want to say. Please, 2 things. For a cutting garden, don't do your cutting garden in the front yard. It will look, your neighbors will wonder about you because it will look like you have a nice mouth of teeth and then all of a sudden some teeth are missing. So your cutting garden should be in the backyard and people don't notice it so much. And the other thing, despite all this silliness that we've done here, the very best bouquet that you will ever be given will come to you on muddy feet and shoes, muddy, muddy, muddy shoes with a tiny hand, and it might have a tulip with a 2-inch stem on it and a couple of dandelions and a whole lot of little violets from your grandchild. Have fun.
Wonderful words. Thank you.